Well, welcome everybody. I am so excited to bring Julie to you today. Julie has a phenomenal story of a health journey that she was living on 30 acres of land, living her dream life. I do believe you're still there. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
We are.
But a lot of people on the outside looking in would think like, oh, she got it all together. But Julie wasn't feeling well. She was really just struggling with a lot of different health challenges, and the regular medical system was trying to push drugs down her throat, which is what they're trained to do. We can't, be too hard on them. That's how they're trained. But Julie didn't feel that was settling right in her spirit. She really, truly just wanted a natural way to find healing in herself, in her body. And so she reached out to a friend who introduced her to some products that I too am and a lover of. I too love them. So I'm excited to dive into this conversation with Julie today because I know that the health benefits that can come from these particular products that she's taken on under her wing and how they have transformed her life. But we're just going to start off like when you moved to your acreage, Julie, how were you feeling before you moved out there? And when did you start to see signs, and what kinds of things were transpiring to make you feel like something's not right?
Um, it's interesting that you asked that question because it's always good to look at what was the lead up. And my husband and I had been living in Canada. He had played professional football in Canada for 10 years, and
Wow.
I had begged him to stay out there. I love living up there. I love the people, and he wanted to return home. Both he and I are from upstate New York. And so he wanted to return home to take over a family business. So I was supportive of that. I was a stay-at-home mom, still a stay-at-home mom, and homeschooling my kids. I have 4 kids. So it was like, okay, if this is your journey, I'm going to support you in it because you're the bread earner. And moving back was very hard for me. I left a really strong group of friends in Canada to move to a small, tiny community where I didn't know anyone but his family. And
Hmm.
I think that took a toll on my emotional health. But I had a lot of excitement as we were preparing for creating our dream life and 30 acres. We were going to build our own home that we designed. And so there was a lot of excitement in that lead up. But I know looking back that when we have emotional issues that we don't address in a healthy way, I suppressed mine. They
Hmm.
created some chronic health issues. And so that's where I was at. Even though we had the excitement of moving into our new home, I had already set that framework, that roadmap to not feeling well.
Hmm.
And I just realized that I wake up each day and I was exhausted and I was fatigued and I just didn't feel well overall.
Well, having 4 boys, building a house, having that big move, pulling away from your network of friends, that is all very trying and challenging for our emotional health.
Right.
Just the stress of building a home alone, never mind having 4 boys. Like, I'm sorry, is it 4 boys or just 4 children?
No, I have 4 children. I have 3 boys and a daughter. So
Yes,
she's
okay.
she's my she's oh my gosh, she's everything. She's a blessing.
Is
So
she your last babe?
no, she was my second. She was my
Okay.
second. So she was like mama to her 2 younger brothers. So she's
Aw.
just a blessing. But yeah, and so I think too, looking back, I really didn't understand the concept of self-care
Hmm.
and taking time for yourself, and that's not being selfish. That's what we need to do, and you can't pour from an empty cup. And that's where I found myself. I was like, I have nothing more to give.
Right.
I'm empty.
So when you started seeking some help to try to figure out what was going on with these chronic issues that were coming up, what were some of the bells and whistles that your body was telling you to say, hey, we need some help here, girl. Let's go get some.
I found that number one, I wasn't sleeping well. When I woke up, I didn't feel like well rested. The goal is when you try to get 8 hours of sleep, you wake up and you're like raring to go the next morning. like restorative sleep. I felt too that my mind was really foggy. I
Mm.
went through each day with a real like fog haze and really didn't think I had good clarity of thought either. So, and
Right.
physically, I was just fatigued. So, walking
Yeah.
down a 600-foot driveway to get the mail was effort. So,
Mm. I've been there. We're just going around the block is just like not happening.
right. Like you have
Um,
to, after doing that, you have to come home and take a rest.
yeah, I'm taking a nap. I went to grab the mail, so I'm gonna have a nap now.
Exactly. And then the problem is, though, is like, even though you need that rest, I didn't give myself permission to take that rest because it's like, oh, I need to get dinner ready, or
Mm.
I need to do this next with the kids. And I just kept pushing and pushing.
Right. So when you started seeking out that professional help, what were the doctors trying to label you as?
Well, you know what happens is that basically we have a balance, like a triangular balance between our thyroid, our adrenals, and our female reproductive system, our ovaries. And so if one of those things are out of alignment, it draws from another. And so all three were a mess. And so she was like, let's address each of these, and here is a pharmaceutical that I'm going to recommend to you to try. And at that point in time, I I had some significant food challenges, and I was like, have you read the ingredients? And she's like, well, yeah, but you know what? Let's try it. We'll see if there's an issue that comes up. And I had already done similar things. And I was like, no, I do not want to go down that rabbit hole with you. I do not. And something intuitively was saying, uh, there's a better way.
Yeah. So you pretty much rejected their recommendations right out the gate because your something was telling you like, no, this is not the path for you.
Right, exactly. And I have done that in the past, even prior to that, with other doctors, and my intuition was correct. And so I know when I hear it or I feel it, I need to lean into it because it won't lead me astray.
Yeah. I've been having an issue with my throat and I've gone into the doctor. I'm like, can you please just, do a scope or like a picture? There's something going on. Because
Mhm.
when I eat, sometimes my throat will close up and I
Oh,
can't breathe. I can't sip water. I have to like force myself to get sick just so I can breathe. It's just a brutal experience.
sorry.
And it's been going on for, I would say, close to 4 years. And over this last year, it's escalated, it's gotten worse. And so the doctor's like, oh, you're just creating too much acid. It's heartburn. It's heartburn.
Yeah.
Like I'm suffocating, but that's heartburn.
Wow.
So he's like, he gives me a pill to get rid of the acid in my stomach, which made it worse. Like I was having more episodes, like I was getting to the point where I get anxiety just to eat because I'm
Phew.
like, I'm scared I'm gonna like drop dead because I can't get air. Like
Right.
it's really messing with my psyche.
Yeah.
I went to a naturopath and he's like, no girl, you're not creating enough acid in your stomach. I'm
Oh,
just like, oh great. So the 30-second diagnosis from my doctor who says, just try this,
right.
this is
Right.
what it is. Take this pill. Didn't even take the care and attention to do blood work, to do ask more questions, to find
Right.
out, I've been suffering with this for 4 years to find out all the other things that I've tried to eliminate, like to see if it's like a food reaction or something like
Mhm.
that. And it's sad that the typical medical profession is just quick to like give you a pill instead of just taking the time and asking the questions and allowing us to walk through it. Um, that's right. My trust or my faith in the medical system is just a little tainted.
I think that's how they're trained,
Mm.
number one. And number two, they their framework of care is set in a container that where
Mhm.
there's no flexibility or diversion of thought. So like I can only meet with someone for a half an hour at the most, or 15 minutes, because I have to get this many patients through. It's kind of like pushing cattle through, right? Or
Yeah.
sheep. And then they're not willing to take that next step to really sit down, or they don't have time to take the next step to sit down, ask good questions, be a good listener, and figure out, well, what am I going to share with her? Is this going to fit the framework of what Stacy needs for health? So
Yeah, it's tough because like you said, they're trained to do to flow their offices like this, right?
exactly.
So what was the step that you made um to actually find the healing and the support that you needed to fix your chronic um fatigue and fog?
Well, I'll tell you what happened after I left the doctor's office. So I sat in my car in the parking lot, and I just sat there for a moment and said, all right, now what do I do? Right. And then just sat in stillness and silence to get some direction. And
Mhm.
what I heard was, call your friend Amy. And so I have a dear friend who was also a homeschooling mama, who had been talking to me forever and a day about essential oils. And I knew what was in the product. Like, for example, lavender is just lavender. Nothing's been added, nothing's been taken away. There's no chemical additives to it. So I called her from the parking lot and I said, hey, you know what you've been talking to me about forever? I'm ready to take a look. And so she helped me get started. And so there is a great oil blend called Stress Away that has lavender and cedarwood and vanilla and lime. It smells fantastic. And so I put that baby on probably 6 to 8 times a day. It's funny because it was during my two youngest boys were playing baseball at that time. And every time they still smell that oil, they, oh, that's the baseball oil.
Aw.
Associated it with it. So, and basically what it does is it just helps to lower that stress level, lower that cortisol level, to get me over the hurdle of, I started feeling better, but it also just got me over the hurdle so I could start to address what was really the issue. And so I was able to address that I had a toxic relationship that was causing an incredible amount of stress in my life. And I had to address that relationship issue because it was making
Mm,
me sick.
right. Yeah, relationships are super crucial, right? Who we let into our circle of influence, right?
Exactly.
People can just suck sometimes I look at some individuals are like leeches where they just like attached and they just suck the life right out of you. And then others are life-giving and they're there to support you just as much as you're there to support them. So
Right.
relationships make a huge impact on our health.
Exactly.
And then just the stress of everything that you had going on in your life. I'm glad that you started with Stress Away because that really helped kind of give you that balance to have clear of thought as to the different areas of your life that you needed to address.
Right.
Building a house, moving into a new country or back to your home
Right.
country,
Yep.
having 4 homeschool babes and extracurricular sports. Like that's a lot.
Yeah, it was. It's funny now that I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I do that? It's like Wonder Woman. Um, but during the time I didn't feel like Wonder Woman, right? So
Oh, I
there
hear
there
you.
was a hole in my armor.
Oh.
But what's really interesting too is that not only did Young Living give me essential oils to support my health and wellness, but it also gave me a community, a
Mm.
community of really empowered women who embrace me wholeheartedly and really, and still to this day always have their eye on me, like, hey, how are you doing, just checking in. So I love this community. It's a community of like wholehearted loving people who are there supporting everyone with
That's great.
everything.
There's a lot of companies like where they promote the community component, but then as soon as they sign you up, and if you're not um to their level of activity or something like that, then you end up just getting pushed aside, like they don't reach out. Like I've been involved in different organizations like that, and I'm like, oh, well, you sold me on something completely different.
Right, right. And like for me, with the people who have blessed me by joining Young Living with me, I think of them as my family. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Well, you're building an awareness and you're combating health issues and helping people feel better. That's like a very motivating mission that you have on in your life now. And where your kid, like how long ago have you found this? Like how long have you been in Young Living?
I joined Young Living 7 years ago, and
Okay.
my kids range in age right now. My youngest is 17 and my oldest just turned 30.
Oh, you look 30. How do you have a 30-year-old?
Thank you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I've told them before. My skin ages well, I guess.
Yeah, that's something that you can totally hang on to for the rest of your life. You're
I
like,
know. Yeah.
yes, my
Right.
usefulness. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When I was younger, when I was 14, I looked like I was about 8 years old, and then when I turned, like 20, people thought I was a little kid. So I'm like, someday I will appreciate this. And I had to wait till right now.
Yeah. Back then you're like, what? You need my ID? Why?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's awesome. So I've actually been a consumer of Young Living oils for, I would say, 18 years. So you can
Wonderful.
go to any room in my house and you'll find oils on
Wonderful.
every mantle, shelf, kitchen counter, like
Yep,
everywhere.
exactly.
They
It
are
was
fabulous.
They are fabulous. It was funny because you were like, write down your passions, right? And so I was like, and I was writing it in the kitchen. I was like, essential oils. I mean, like a new oil comes out, I have to have it. I have to smell it. I have to see what it looks like. And yeah,
Yeah.
like people collect things. I collect oil bottles.
So that I end up falling into that too, because I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, what does that one do? And I'll
Exactly.
order it. And by the time it gets to me, I'm like, why did I order this
I
one? What
ordered
does
it.
it
Yeah.
do? So
Yeah. I hear you.
yeah, I need that community to like dial in and be like, all right, this new oil, they have a they have a few different new ones in Young Living. What would be your favorite go-to right now?
Right. It's funny, but it's still the old standbys. I mean, before getting on, I did put Stress Away on because it was a little nervous, and then frankincense. I always put frankincense on the top of my head, and
Nice.
when I'm gonna speak, because I find it just grounds me nicely. Plus, our hair becomes a diffuser, so that's good too.
Yeah.
I have some real good standbys that are must-haves as far as every day. So, like every day, DiGize, right, for digestive support. Every day, I have in my diffuser uh, frankincense. I've been doing valerian for a good night's sleep. There's a roll-on called Tranquil and Rutavala. Have those every day. Um, I do take note of which oils are really great for your female hormonal health. So, like every day, Progestins Plus, Clary Sage, Endoflex, things like that. Just, every day, daily.
And you put them on your feet? How do you put the oils on?
Ooh, you broke up a little. I
Oh,
apologize.
did we have a snag in the internet connection? Yeah. So how do you like that's a lot of different oils that you use every day if you're diffusing and putting them on your head. You'd be walking around like a oil machine. So how do you put some of those things on in your daily routine to have that balance of consuming the oils?
So, well, I'll start my morning, right? And I'll put a concoction in the diffuser just to bump it out so we have good aroma in the home. Also, though, when you smell something aromatically, it's going to support your body system. So, like this time of year, it's really nice to have like Thieves oil blend because it boosts your immune system. And then I've been having fun So Young Living oils are ingestible. They've been GRAS certified for that to be okay. And so I've been doing a fun project of creating teas, not with a tea bag, but just some, warm tea water, right? Some water,
Mhm.
and then adding essential oils to that for consumption of a tea.
Okay.
So I've been playing with that to support my adrenal health. So I've been using cinnamon bark. So 3 drops of cinnamon bark, 2 drops
Mm.
of nutmeg that supports your adrenal health, and then 3 to 4 drops of lemon oil. Fantastic.
Wow, I'm
And
gonna try that.
yeah, it's really nice. I didn't realize how, so I didn't put honey in it. I was like, oh, I wonder if this is going to be sweet enough. But cinnamon bark is very sweet
Mm.
by nature.
That's good to know because I actually think I have cinnamon bark. I don't think I've actually cracked the lid open.
Yeah, crack
So
it open, put it in your diffuser. It's nice to add if you have orange oil. So orange oil and cinnamon bark together is really nice.
I
And
like the Christmas spirit that comes out this time of year. Because it just like makes my whole house smell like grandma's kitchen. It's so amazing.
the interesting thing is that they do have Christmas spirit in the middle of the summer too. And so my oldest joined Young Living with me, and that's on his order like every month. That's all he diffuses: Christmas spirit, summer, winter.
It is a very warm, invigorating smell. I really love it. So
Yeah.
So I guess like what are you doing now that you have found your stride in your health and finding these tools to support your adrenals and your female hormones and all the fun stuff that us aging women have to deal with. Um
That doesn't seem
how
fair, does it?
what no it's not. I think that's
What
why
about
we
those
have a special
babies?
place in God's heart. Like when we go home, he's gonna like, this is for you, my daughter. It's gonna be glorious.
Very good.
Yeah. So like I know that you have now taken a huge passion into supporting other women in this realm of finding oils and bringing them into their life, and just how are you working with your team and your with women out there that are looking to get better health and to find some balance and combat the stresses of life, because there's so many of them.
Yeah. So with the team that we already have, our community, we do have a Facebook group that I'm very involved in part of product education. And so we have, product education. Then we also have, if people want to look at creating a business, we have a tribe leadership organization as well. And then I love to educate, and I love to educate people on uh, health and wellness.
Hmm.
And so I have classes currently that I do in the evening. And then I had started about 3 months ago doing lunch and learn, just a short half an hour class on Mondays. It's the first and third Monday of the month. And those have been great. I Lunch and learn is great because I have people in my organization who live in Europe. So if I do a class at 7 o'clock at night, it's too late for them.
Oh, for
And
sure.
then so they're eating dinner, I'm eating lunch, and then I have people on the West Coast, they're having breakfast. So it's a meal and learn, but I just keep it lunch and learn. So I've been doing classes that way. So I mean, I have one coming up just looking at emotional wellness, which really is important to me because you heard my story. It was stress in my life from a toxic relationship. So emotional wellness is tantamount to having overall health and wellness.
Hmm.
And in 2017, I decided to get my certification in aroma freedom technique.
Hmm.
And so I'm a practitioner in that. I hold workshops where I lead people through the technique. And the technique is part psychotherapy and part aromatherapy. And we all have dreams and goals, but then we also have blocks and negative self-talk from keep us achieving it. And this technique, utilizing specific Young Living essential oils at a specific time in the technique, will help to break that block and create a permanent and positive mindset shift. So,
That's powerful. So could you do that live or do you do that online, or how do you?
I
those
I
workshops?
host classes live and in person, and then I have hosted them on Zoom as well. And I've done one-on-ones and I've done workshops. And so, yeah.
So when you do it online, that do the members have to purchase a few oils to um, be part of that workshop to actually walk through it? How does that work?
What I have done in the past is, of course, people can, and they're free to purchase the oils, but a lot of times people aren't ready. And
Mhm.
so I will send them samples to help them get started so they can
Aw.
experience the technique. And that's part of the price of participating, the fee of participating. So I do cover that for people. There are many people who are already Young Living members. And so I say, hey, if you have these oils, then this is your rate. If you don't, then this is your fee. So yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
And how is the like your community receiving these workshops? Like when it comes to what you're bringing to the table, are they like taking it and actually applying it, or are they just like doing the workshop and like, yeah, it's good for you?
Well, generally, I think when you invite people to come to a workshop and they take that first step and they're making a commitment to themselves. And so all I ask when people come is, hey, just take a look. It might
Mhm.
be for you, it might not be for you. I don't know what your story is, but I'm here to see if I can provide a bridge to happier and healthier living. And if
Mm.
that makes sense for you, fantastic. Let's welcome you aboard. If it doesn't make sense for you at this time, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. You've really enriched my life. So
Oh, that's beautiful. I love how you say like it's just like your bridge to help them kind of get to that healthier living lifestyle. So many of us we get stuck in all of these different scenarios, whether it be relational, kids, like all the different stages of parenthood. Like now you've got adult children, and then that whole process of even them moving out and spreading their wings and doing their thing, that brings a whole nother level of stress. Same as like our school age children, the homeschooling process, the with everything with COVID, you're in school, you're out of school, you're online,
right.
like all of the stresses that I can't even fathom having to process right now. Um, my youngest is 16 and he's at a hockey school, so he's living the dorm life.
Mhm.
um, which is a whole nother story because
Right.
you're not there with him every day. You're just like, you're still my baby. So that's running through my brain. But as parents, we tend to like go through all these different seasons, and then with relationships and our jobs and everything that's going on in the world, it is so great that we have a bridge that can bring some wisdom and knowledge into our healthy living lifestyles so that we can get additional support. We don't like it's not always one size fits all scenario when it comes to our health and wellness. So to explore all the different options that are out there and see if it's for us,
Mhm.
you won't know unless you try, right? So like your friend was nagging on you for a while before you're like, okay, I'm ready to give it a try, right?
Exactly, right, because I didn't see that. I did not take what she was sharing and see how it would fit in my life. And
Mhm.
then I guess you could say I had a pain point and I was like, "Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for loving on me for such a long time, and
Mhm.
being there as a support." And that's what I do with anyone who I meet because y- you never know
Mhm.
when you're going to have the opportunity to help impact someone's life, number one.
Yeah.
And I know from talking to a lot of people that a lot of people don't know that there are choices out there.
Mm.
And I think that's really important conversation to have. There are other ways to live well and live vibrantly.
Yeah, or they get like so much information that they become paralyzed because the internet is truly an endless resource of information. And if you go to Dr. Google about anything, you'll always end up dead by the end of the day. So,
Right. Exactly. And then when you Google things too, a lot of times, we assume that everything that's out there is correct information and not misinformation, right? And
Mm,
so it's nice to have people, human beings who you can have a conversation with and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. You know, what sign of support would you offer me? And
that's
so,
right.
I
I
mean,
love that.
yeah. And people can take a look. And if they're like, no, that's not for me, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. And who's to say they're not gonna come knocking at your door a year down the road?
That's right. Right.
Um,
Exactly. Like I do with my girlfriend. It was more than a year.
Yeah, no, it's so good what you're doing. So if anybody really wanted to reach out and say, "Hey, Julie, I would love to get involved into your workshop and taste, try out these oils and see if it is something
Mhm.
for me," how would they go about doing that?
Well, they can always use my email, right? Or I know that if you're on social media, Messenger works real well for me as well. And of course, the old fashioned cell phone call is good too.
Okay,
Yeah.
can you give that up?
I'm pretty good about that. Yeah. I figure if someone really needs help, that's okay. I can answer it.
Oh, that's precious. Um, so also in the app where we're going to post your story matters conversation, um, you can always just reach out because you're in the app, so you can always reach out to Julie here in this space as well.
Yes.
Just go to your little message icon, type in her name, send her a
Perfect.
request, and you can ask her questions there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, this has been awesome. I am so
Yeah.
glad that you have found something to help support you and get over that fatigue and that, because that's paralyzing when you can't go get the mail and feel like I know what that's like. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I'm
You got to
sorry,
take your time.
family. Like, I can't do that because I'm going to be wiped out for the rest of the day. So I'm so glad that you found something to support you and overcome those trials, and just having that revelation about your emotional health when it comes to relationships too. That is revolutionary, because so many of us will hang on to toxic relationships thinking that either A, we're part of their life because they need us, or B, we're just not strong enough in our own mindset to let it go, even though we're constantly being abused or being taken advantage of. Um,
Right.
and so good for you for recognizing that and then making that change in your life to guard and protect who you are as a person and where you're going. So
Thank you.
yeah. Well, I very much appreciate. Is there anything else that of wisdom that you'd like to share with the community today?
Any other wisdom? Oh my gosh. When
Like, where do
you
I start?
look, I got a big piece of paper. No, I'll share my wisdom within the community when I I like to share when I have something that I think will be positive and uplifting to share with other people.
Yeah, I love
And
it.
that hasn't already been said before. So
Well, that's beautiful, Julie. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I very much appreciate it,
thank
and
you
for
so
you
much.
sharing your story. So yeah, if you want to connect with Julie, just go to her, you can send her an email, you can find her on Messenger. We'll give up her phone number, but I don't know if I'll put it in the video, but if you want her phone number, you just post and we will make sure you get access to connect with her that way, or you can
Right.
send her a message here on the app to find out more information about her workshop. Do you, just quickly as it's running through my brain, do you run them regularly?
Yes, I do. I actually have one coming up on this coming Monday, which
Okay.
is, I can't think offhand, it's November, is it the 14th?
Yeah, well, today's the 8th, but this won't go live today. This will be a couple weeks out. So
No, I'm
we'll
sorry.
probably be past that workshop. So
Okay,
you just want one in December or going into
I
the new year? Is it
I do. Can
monthly?
I post somewhere? I can post the classes that are coming up and then people can access them.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be
So
great.
right now I do the lunch and learn on the first and third Monday of each month. And then I do have classes on Wednesday nights. It's 8 o'clock Eastern time. And then there are sporadic classes on Thursday nights. And then the AFT workshop, as far as a Zoom call, is generally once a month on a Sunday morning.
Okay, beautiful. Well, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Julie. I very much appreciate you coming and sharing today. And I do look forward to hearing more from you and getting plugged into one of your lunch and learns.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me. Your community is beautiful, and
Thank
the work
you.
that you do is great and incredible.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I'm sure the community appreciates you coming as well. So
So much.
thanks, darling.